So I want to give my thoughts on the Odyssey. There's been a lot of controversy about the casting. Now, as far as Elliot slash Ellen Page, that may be something because, of course, that is a modern take. And if it is for Achilles, it doesn't necessarily fit the character. The character is the important element that we're talking about here. The other things, as far as the race swaps, because of woke Hollywood, race swap and everything, it's kind of funny because Hollywood spent the past 100 years race swapping. Every time you see a white person, a biblical story, a Roman story, a Greek story, an Egyptian story, there were race swaps because, of course, white people did not exist during ancient times and civilizations. I know they like to retrofit themselves on everything, but they were not there. Why weren't they there? Because I know you get tired of people telling you that. Let me show you why they weren't there. This is why they weren't there. Chronologically speaking, it was impossible. Now, you couldn't see any of that, but I just want to show you that it is something on there. So Greeks and Italians are not considered Germanic or Celtic because they developed earlier civilizations, the Greco-Roman civilizations, in the Mediterranean, while Celts and Germanics originally originated in northern Central Europe. That's white people. The Germanic, Celtic tribes, Nordic tribes, that's white people. They are separate and apart from the Greeks and the Romans. Geography and distinct migration patterns separated them. Greeks and Italic tribes settled in the Mediterranean basin early in history, developing urbanized cultures. Celts and Germanics developed in northern and central Europe, migrating later. The Romans and Greeks classified themselves as civilized, while labeling Germanic and Celtic peoples as distinct barbarians. Period. End of sentence. That's what happened historically. There were no Matt Damons. There were no Elizabeth Taylors. There weren't, because you're a separate and distinct people. In the way, and you'll understand this, in the way black people from Western Africa are just like, yeah, the Egyptians and this, that, and other. You're just like, even though there were trade routes through the Sahara, you see, sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East. There's no such thing as the Middle East. It's like assuming that you can tell that somebody's from the Midwest by looking at them. That's just a geographical designator based on where you're standing. So they were midway to the east from west. That's it. They're not a distinct people. They are part of an out migration from Africa as well. And if you have a map, you can see how close Ethiopia or Sudan is to Yemen and Saudi Arabia and all of these type of things. But I digress on any of that. The main point is Lupita Nyong'o looks like the only person that would have had a chance to be around during the rise of the Greek empires, because the African empires predate Rome and Greece by thousands of years. Egypt was conquered by Nubia well before Julius Caesar thought to bring civilization to the Germanic and Celtic tribes, which would include the Nordic tribes as well. There are no Vikings in the Bible either. So you are not part of the story. There's no Western civilization. There's none of these things that you want to keep putting yourself into. And then when you see someone being a little bit more historically accurate, you're aggravated. And I understand why. But it's not the brainwashing and the race swapping that's happening now. It's the brainwashing and the race swapping that they've been doing for hundreds of years that have you thinking that people in ancient Greece and ancient Rome were thee, thou, thou, and had blonde hair and running around. When Greeks and Italians got off the boat in this country 100 years ago, everybody reminded them, you're not white. You're not a Celtic, Nordic, Germanic tribesman. You're not white. It's our turn now, which is separate from their turn. So if you're not questioning Why the hell is Matt Damon in it? Or anybody else that you see playing Greeks and Romans? Now, when you ask, then there's Ridley Scott saying, hey, we can't cast Jafar in the part. Nobody's going to go see it. So we got to hire Matt Damon. Okay, hire Matt Damon. Because now you're just telling a story. And you're just having somebody that people recognize to go see it so they can enjoy this story. So we will put white people in the damn story so white people will go see it. But that is some woke Hollywood bullshit for Matt Damon to be in a movie about the Odyssey. It is some woke Hollywood bullshit for Ralph Fiennes to play in The Return. It is some woke Hollywood bullshit for any white person to play any biblical figure. It is woke Hollywood bullshit, right? Anytime you see a white person doing anything of any importance in a historical manner before 1800. Because that's when they came on the scene. 1800. They only been in power a couple of 100 years. That's it. Other than that, globally insignificant. Globally insignificant. China wasn't worried about them. West Africa wasn't worried about them. East Africa wasn't worried about them. Middle East wasn't worried about them. The Roman Empire wasn't worried about them. And you can say barbarians at the gates, but again, once you destroyed what was left at the end of the Roman Empire, it moved east. And nothing came of Western Europe. There are still no languages, no historical documents, no monuments, nothing in Western Europe from antiquity. Not one thing of substance. There's 1 million pyramids in Sudan. Ethiopia has documentation for being the first Christian nation. And then you're like, oh, well, there's stone here and just a couple rocks leaning up against each other. Where's your written language? There were Africans from Ethiopia and Nubia going and reading the scribes and the details on the buildings and in the buildings for the announcements in Egypt. Where's yours? Oh, Rome. Rome ain't got shit to do with you. Those are separate peoples that have nothing to do with you. Those peoples are the offsprings of the African civilizations from trade. They weren't trading with white people. They were trading with Africa. And you can see it develop through the Arabia and through into Turkey where Troy is and everything else, the Mediterranean. Africa and the Mediterranean. No white people involved in any civilization in antiquity. There's no Nordic, Germanic, Celtic civilizations in antiquity. Zero. There were tribes. And there were tribes everywhere. There were tribes in Indonesia. There were tribes in Asia. There were tribes in the Americas. There were tribes in everywhere. But when you're talking about great broad civilizations of antiquity, Egypt, Rome, Greece, things like that, none of you were involved in the development of those. You later were conquered. And then when they packed up and went home, when the Romans left the UK, that's the Dark Ages. Nothing came of it. Still didn't come up with any text. Still didn't come up with any stories. Still didn't come up with any language. Still didn't come up with any technological developments. Still didn't do shit. And it's okay. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. We're under the reign of the Western white Celtic tribes and Germanic tribes. That's fine. It's your turn. You're going to have the shortest turn of anybody. So I'm not trying to shorten it. I'm not trying to cut it off or whatever else. But don't worry about this other shit. Don't worry about projecting yourself in the Bible. Don't worry about projecting yourself back into Greece and Rome and whatever else. And if you are going to do it, when somebody's telling the story and they put Zendaya in it, everybody in the damn story should look like Zendaya. Everybody. Nobody should look like Matt Damon. Nobody. Ancient Greeks. The Greeks you see right now, damn near dark as me. And they've been through centuries of admixture. The Italians you see have been through centuries of admixture by this point. But in antiquity, come on now. You almost to this day can see an Eastern European and know off the bat. You almost can see somebody from the Mediterranean and know off the bat. You can already tell half the time. Thicker, coarser hair, broader features, sometimes darker olive skin or whatever else. You almost can tell right away that they're not Irish and they're not Scandinavian. You almost can tell right away. And they could tell right away when they were getting their ass off the boat 100 years ago. So, I don't want to hear any more about casting and why is Travis Scott. They're the only people that had a chance of being there. Africans would have been in Greece. No white people would have been in ancient Greece. Full stop, period. There's no version of it. Then I watched, what's his name? Jezebel or whatever else. The modern English languages that they're using, that's aggravating people. You know what aggravates me? Shakespearean English, or having pale ass white people play Romans or biblical features, because that's what's familiar to you. You think Queen or King of England, and so all royalty must have been like that. Nobody in antiquity had ever heard of or gave two shits about the king, queen, or anything in the UK. None of those isles or islands or anything else were of any significance to anybody in antiquity. Again, this run started 16, 17, and really jumped off carving up Africa in the 1880s. That's it. That's been the run. That's been the run. So from dealing with Napoleon and things like that, that's it. That's when it's been globally significant. The conquest of the New World. Once you had your own Africa. Once you had your own resources. Once you drained Africa of all of its resources. The clock started on what is actually now Western civilization. And Western civilization is doing what every civilization did. Piggybacking off of everybody else. Those are Roman construction techniques. Those are Arabic numerals. This is a halfway Germanic language with a hodgepodge of all the languages that were stuffed and kicked up your ass by the Romans. That's it. If your language is it a Greek-based or Latin-based word? Every single word, every medicine, everything, is it Greek or Latin-based? You know why? Because it's not going to be English-based. Because there's no English language. That's why. This is a new thing. And it's fine. It's global. It's bigger than they ever were. Well, nearly. I mean, a lot of people speak Latin and, more importantly, things like Spanish and French. But that came from them putting their foot in white people's ass. Not because you had a language or written details or anything else. So, woke Hollywood tricked you into believing white people were in the Roman and Greco antiquity empires. That's what woke Hollywood did. Zendaya, again, that's what everybody should look like. So, there's no reason for complaint unless you actually want to fix it and get some people that look like ancient Greeks and have them speak ancient Greek and then be very authentic about it. But English translation and putting white people in it, you can put fucking midgets, you can put Hawaiians, Native Americans, whatever you want in it at that point. You can do it the way white people have been put in every damn thing else where they have no goddamn business. So, you can continue to bellyache, but you don't have a leg to stand on. If everybody in that movie doesn't like Zendaya or Lupita, then it's woke Hollywood bullshit that there are white people in a Greek movie.